Hello, everyone. This is my reflection on the interview I had with Miss Pineda, a new fifth grade teacher this year. And she was my coachee, and I was able to do the three coaching cycles required by this course. And as you can see here, this is Miss Pineda in the red cap. She's a brand new teacher. She joined our campus back in January when the former fifth grade teacher became a librarian. Miss Pineda um, came along and she took over the class. The classes that she worked with were a fifth grade dual class, and she focused on teaching them the revising and editing skills. Miss Pineda had four groups of fifth graders who would rotate every hour and a half approximately. In talking to Miss Pineda, one of the questions that I asked her for our reflection interview was, what would be something that you are the most proud of? And Miss Pineda shared with me that she was very proud of being able to take over the class in the middle of the year. She has no prior experience, and she was able to learn the curriculum. She focused on revising and editing skills, like I mentioned before, and she was able to learn those SCs very well. And one of the things she achieved this year was to learn to use data to drive interventions. One of the things that Miss Pineda, or some of the things that Miss Pineda found the most useful during our time working together was to be able to use data to form intervention groups and to provide these groups with targeted intervention lessons. She also learned to create stations that were tailored to meet the students' need according to this data. This is something that she wants to continue using. Our campus is a blended campus, so most teachers, if not everyone, is using the station rotation model. So this is something that she's gonna continue for next year, and she was very successful at creating these stations this second semester. Another question that I asked her was, okay, what changes would you like to make for next year? And she was very reflective, and she mentioned to me that next year she's planning on following the scope and sequence with fidelity to ensure that she is teaching every single of the assessed standards, and that she spends enough time on each one to be able to teach them to the depth and complexity that is required. She also talked about understanding the importance of designing strong tier one lessons to minimize the need for interventions later. And she also talked about how she wanted to create checks for understanding at the end of each of her lessons, which they approximately last for a week. So she was going to start thinking about which checks for understanding she can come up with to assess the students right away and intervene as needed. She doesn't want to wait until the unit assessment because she feels that by then, those students who did not learn the concept are going to make mistakes on the assessment, and the data is not going to be very favorable. So she wants to intervene, create her own formative assessments along the way to prepare the students for that unit assessment at the end of the 3 weeks of instruction. The most challenging things for Miss Pineda was classroom management. As I said before, she joined our campus in the middle of the school year. She took over four different groups of fifth grade students. So classroom management was very challenging, and she feels that she needs to learn new strategies to be able to start fresh next year. She also saw the need for creating engaging lessons and activities. Ms. Pineda came during the time we were doing interventions for STAR and doing our blitz to get the kids ready for STAR. So many of the other teachers, because they are departmentalized, they were going over test taking skills and practicing reading, math, and science. So she saw the need for making her lessons engaging, especially because she was teaching revising and editing skills. And by nature, those are sometimes not very engaging on their own for kids. So she mentioned to me that she wanted to create some lessons or to find activities that were hands-on, that were engaging for her students. The other challenging part about teaching these groups of students was the fact that they belonged to a dual language program. So she had all different levels of English speaking abilities and writing abilities. And she mentioned to me that that was very challenging for her. She felt like she didn't have the strategies needed to help some of these students. And even though we talked about some of these things as we were planning our intervention lessons and our Star Blitz, she feels that she needs to prepare more and learn more about how to address the needs of dual language students. The next steps for her, again, she mentioned that she wanted to increase student engagement in her class. We talked about getting familiar with the lead forward instructional strategies, Kagan, and also finding hands-on activities to target the revising and editing skills that she had to teach. Overall, my experience with Miss Pineda was very positive. She is a young, very intelligent teacher. She learns fast. She is very driven. She was invested in those kids. She wanted to help them be successful on their state assessments. So it was very easy to work with her. She asked lots of questions. She would take things home to study them. She would work and collaborate with the other fifth grade teachers, and she would also pick on their brains and on because these are very experienced teachers that she was working with. So she was constantly seeking for help, seeking for advice, trying to find new strategies to implement in her classroom. So it was very, very easy to work with Miss Pineda. She is a big risk taker. She's not afraid about trying new things, and she built a very positive rapport with the students. And even though, yes, she could improve on classroom management overall, and taking in consideration the time that she joined our campus and under the conditions that she came in, she did an amazing job. Her students really love her, and that helps a lot when it comes to classroom management. But definitely, we will be working on learning and adopting new classroom management strategies next year. And other than that, I just want to say that I am very proud of her. She has come a long way, and she has helped these students master many of these skills by tracking everything on her data wall. And I have no doubt that these students are going to be very successful on their state assessment. I'm very glad that I got to work with her, and hopefully we work again starting next year.